Hi, y'all. This week for our assignment on analyzing and creating data, I wanted to focus on the justification for an AT at the current assignment or sport assignment they're with, or the need for possibly hiring a new one in the future. So a couple things that I looked at was I picked 10 sports from our campus. This is not what we're limited to. We obviously have more on campus, but I wanted to pick 10 that we frequently saw athletes with. So I chose to do baseball, cross country, football, men's basketball, men's soccer, softball, track, volleyball, women's basketball, and women's soccer. Then I went ahead and indicated the amount of athletes we have from each one, and I pulled up last year's roster. So all data that I have is from the 2017-2018 athletic year at a Division III university. The injuries are the next thing that I indicated, so we broke it down into injuries by each sport that were recorded by the athletic training staff for the 2017-2018 school year. And so I was able to pull up those on our own sportswear account, and I could give a more accurate description of how many athletes we see and how many injuries we record as a staff. So obviously you can see that the most injuries recorded are with football, and the least that are recorded are with cross country. And then in between you'll see a variance from high to low, but obviously football having the most and cross country having the least. From sportswear, I was also able to pull up the average treatments that were given to each sport. So again, football had the most treatments, and our least amount of treatments was actually a tie between softball and men's basketball. And then again, you can see the treatments for each sport. And again, this is going to be um, basically only if they have been recorded by the athletic training staff. So there could be some variance, but this is what was recorded by the athletic training staff in the 2017-2018 school year. Then I went ahead and did an average hour of practice per week by sports team. And this is something that I kind of had to pull on my own, as well as the hours, and I combined the hours of travel and the games per week. So this can include the typical amount or average amount of hours used to travel for a sporting competition, as well as the game and how long that could be. So track obviously has a lot of hours per week on average, and that is just because meets can go for so long, but it isn't broken down by the different event of a track meet, just the total amount of time that it can take for a track meet. Then I went ahead and I pulled up on our roster or our schedule for the season on our sports website, and I was able to pull in the competitions per season from last year's data. Then I went ahead and recorded the injuries during practice that were recorded again in this whole sportswear by the athletic training staff, and then the injuries during competition, which I just again pulled from the software. So the first thing that I wanted to do obviously was make it easy. Again, pictures seem to be the most beneficial thing for me to kind of see where everything is at. So I broke down injuries by sport, so you can see that a large percentage of injuries, total injuries, are with football and the least being with cross country. And then it's pretty close around there between the rest of the sports. So most of them come from football. And I set up this pie chart, and this one actually broke it down into percentages. So of those injuries, 54% of them come from football, and then again 2% cross country, and so on. So a nice little pie chart to show you where we're at on injuries and sports. I recorded, again, the easiest, the total number of athletes at our university, which is 442. And currently on staff, we have 2 athletic trainers and 2 graduate assistants, as well as an accredited program, student program, a master's program to be exact. So most of these sports get broken down between the 4 certified staff that we have. And then of those, the staff typically cover men's basketball, men's soccer, women's basketball, women's soccer, volleyball, football, and baseball and softball. So cross country and track seem to come in as they can, as often as they can, and then from there they'll be looked at by either a student, a GA, or one of the certifieds on staff full time at our university. Then I did an average time loss, and I just kind of guessed based on looking at the reports that I compiled from our sportswear account. So these aren't exactly accurate, but this is the closest that I can get. So from there, I wanted to look at, again, I have the total number of injuries in a 2017-2018 athletic year, and then the average time lost. So I wanted to see how long our athletes are typically out with their injuries, and I got 5.2 days with a standard deviation of 1.873. The next thing I wanted to look at was total treatments, again, provided by sportswear, and these are accurate numbers. So the total amount of treatments that we provide as an athletic training staff, that includes GAs, certified full-time staff, and the accredited student program. We have 2,681 with an average of 268. Then I did the total or the average hours of practice per week for each sport team, 5.85. The average hours of travel and game time, 6.2. The average of competitions per season is 26.5. The average injuries during practice are 134. I'm sorry, the total number of injuries during practice, and then the total number of injuries during competition. So from there, what I wanted to get out of this, and now that I've kind of labeled everything out, is would we consider where everyone on staff is placed? So right now we have a GA on volleyball and a GA on both of the basketballs, as well as a full-time staff member on women and men's soccer and a full-time staff member on football. And typically each of those are followed by one student to assist them, except for volleyball, who does not have a student. So I wanted to see if we're doing okay with where everyone is assigned. And what I pulled from this is typically the total number of athletes that, when we look at this, is that track actually has more injuries than volleyball does. So we can consider possibly assigning a full-time staff member or a graduate assistant to track, or again, maybe considering moving a student into a track position so that they can work with this track team full-time. And I think that's important because it'll improve the patient-centered care and the conception and how the athletes perceive the athletic training program and the treatment that they are getting. So because track seems to have most of the injuries, I would consider maybe possibly moving another person onto caring for the track team. And then most importantly, if we look at the amount of injuries have with football, we do have one full-time AT on staff, but could we consider hiring another athletic trainer? Because you look at the total number of treatments given in a year, and while yes, there are some students on staff that can assist with treatments, it may be beneficial because this number is so high. And not only for that one, we look at, again, track and volleyball and basketball, soccer, and baseball. Can we consider hiring another athletic trainer to help us in providing treatments? And this goes again with the whole idea of patient-centered care and wanting that patient to be comfortable and knowing that they are getting the best care that they possibly can. So that's what I looked at this week. Thanks for watching, and hopefully this answers all your questions and gives you a little help in the future. Thanks.